Hello fellow Titan Quest fans! This video is a build guide for a build that is extremely strong and easy to play. The perfect combination for a starter build in the early access. First of all, thank you guys for 250 subscribers. You are my very first ones and I am deeply thankful for your support. Let's get into the build. First, the pros and cons. The build is extremely strong against groups of enemies, the more the better. It is also very strong against strong individual enemies. It is very safe and easy to play. Cons? I don't know, there pretty much are none. The name Might Bow Exploder says it all. It's a range build that is absurdly strong from start to finish. We focus on the attribute Might, so that we can equip heavy bows. There are two types of bows in this game, those that require agility and those that require might. The agility bows have less base damage and are a bit faster. The bows used here deal huge damage and the slow attack speed will be mitigated by the rage keyword found in Warfare Mastery. Both masteries are equally important, but before we put any points into masteries, we skill out our core skill first, namely primary attack. This build focuses heavily on this one, so we leveled it all the way up to level 17. Our core skill, the primary attack, first needs the modifier volley. You can just skill this as early as level 2. This gives us a 40% chance to fire 2 additional projectiles. Those deal 70% less damage and have 70% less ailment chance. Every so often we fire multiple arrows per attack, and that right at the start of the game. The next point goes toward the modifier Tailwind. This enables the projectiles to penetrate one target. Those two modifiers go very well with one another, because more projectiles that also penetrate can deal a lot of damage to enemies, be it groups or bosses. At level 5 we put 1 point in Onslaught, because this activates a rage counter for our basic attack. Those rage counters increase our damage and, most important of all, attack speed. The most important modifier of this build is the next one, though. It's called Fire Explosion. It converts 100% of the damage to fire damage. This stat is negligible. The important thing is that this modifier gives a chance per hit to deal fire damage in a radius. That also has high ailment chance. Remember our volley modifier that we have up to level 2? This gives a 50% chance to fire +4 projectiles. All of those projectiles have a chance to trigger Fire Explosion. On level 9 you will have maxed out your primary attack with Fire Explosion being the only modifier maxed out, because it's just that important for the build, because of the ailment chance it gives. Half of our attacks are multiple shots because of volley, and those multiple shots have 0 ailment chance, because it's reduced by 70%. The thing is, if Fire Explosion is triggered, the enemies still burn, also with multiple shots. On level 3, the Fire Explosion has a 40% chance to trigger, causing enemies to burn. Don't forget the penetration as well. So that means if you fire at enemy groups, many of those will have ailment casts on them, in other words burn. Another centerpiece of this build is the tier 3 passive of Earth Mastery called Combustion. It's the best thing about the mastery, because it's just that strong against enemy groups. Once we unlocked it, burning enemies that die have a chance to trigger an explosion, dealing fire damage. With this, we can blow up enemy groups almost instantly. We want to unlock Combustion as soon as possible, so we obviously allocate all divinity points towards Earth Mastery. In chapter 1 there is the Titan Icar in the northwest. Usually players do that quest after they have cleared all the flooded farmlands. For this build, it makes sense to go straight to Glaucus Temple after reaching Pyrgos. Why? Because once the Titan Ichor is absorbed, you gain 5 more divinity points so that you can unlock tier 3 as early as level 11. This is the same for any other build, by the way. There are many builds that want to unlock a tier 3 ability of their respective mastery as soon as possible. By the way, if you like what you're seeing, consider subscribing. I will be putting out tons of Titan Quest 2 content. During the first level ups, you put the passive points in the tier 1 passive of warfare called Weapon Proficiency. We do most of our damage with basic attacks, so it is perfect to boost our weapon damage and attack speed. Allocate the feats toward attack speed and ailment chance. We still fire 1 arrow half of the time, and this one still has a good ailment chance on its own to add to our burning attacks on the enemies. This build does not have many active abilities, especially at the start. There is one that is super important. It's of Earth Mastery and it's the Ignite spell. First, you skill modifier Flame Burst to actually cast the burn ailment on a target. The important thing and the best thing about this skill is the next modifier called Resistance Reduction. It does just that. Maxed out, it reduces the enemy fire resistance by 25%. You use that against stronger or important enemies like Ichnean brutes or enchanters. The ability Ignite shines also against bosses. You can cast it multiple times on a boss. The spell has no cooldown. Each cast on a boss adds a burning ailment. A couple of regular shots and most stuff should be dead. You also put 1 point in Ring of Flame. You just use it to get around the map faster. I recommend the modifier Weakening Heat, which reduces the fire resistance to enemies in the circle. Most other active points go to our Earth Mastery aura called Earth Enchantment. We first want to use Fire Imbuement to actually have fire arrows, then max out Earth Enchantment to boost our fire damage. A big priority for passive points is Earth Mastery's Earth Affliction. It increases the ailment chance, which is only relevant for our single shots, and also the ailment power. This is a very important keyword for our build. We want to have as much ailment power as possible, because we cast burn ailments all the time, stacking it up very often. Put in the feats ailment amount and ailment power. Once you unlock tier 3, you take away some points from Earth Affliction and put them towards combustion. Later fill up Earth Affliction with level ups. I also recommend some points in Earth Attunement, but just to level 6. This one increases the fire damage. Use the weapon feat to increase the weapon damage and attack speed. At level 15 you will reach tier 2 of Warfare Mastery. Then you can start putting passives in Rage Gain, which is very important for this build, because it relies on primary attacks. Use the modifiers Rage on Kill and Rage Amount, because the healing is not good for this ranged build. At level 22 you can start skilling the tier 3 skill of Warfare called Rain of Arrows. This one is cute against enemies that are tricky to shoot, and you also can consume Overwhelm. Now that we have talked about the actives and passives, let's go over the attribute point allocation. Just put around 60 to 70% in might and the rest in vigor. It depends on how dangerously you want to live. If you like to be on the safe side and not die to anything, go for a 60-40 ratio of might and vigor. This makes you quite tanky, which adds a good survivability to this range build. Rangers are usually glass cannons and very fragile, but not this build. Might increases your value for resolve, and that scales your fire damage. Might also enables you to equip those nice heavy bows with a huge base damage and also heavy armor. This makes you very hard to kill if you use your dodge and barrier wisely. Let's talk about the items. On the first levels you take any bow that you find, in order to make use of volley as early as possible. Then you get some magic items. Prioritize Boots of Journeying over anything. With enough might, you can equip heavy armor that has huge armor values. Since this build is kind of an ailment build, you prioritize the erosive prefix for rings and amulets. This increases the damage over time. You also go for ailment power. Ailments in this game have stacks. The more stacks a target has for one ailment type, the higher the damage. Ailment power scales just that. So you look for the of affliction suffix in jewelry, shoulder pads and bows. Ideally you get a volcanic bow which adds a fire damage percentage, but ailment power is the most important thing. The developers clearly had this build in mind when designing masteries and their possible combinations. There's the epic item Rambo 2, which clearly is a reference of Rambo 2. For all of you younger people here, that's the dude from my intro with the exploding arrows. This bow gives a chance to make your primary attack explode, which is exactly what this build does. The item is more of a gimmick. For earlier levels it is good if you manage to find it. In later levels your rare might bows deal much more damage. It is possible to find the Rambo 2 when your character's level is higher. Epic items, either found or given as quest rewards, scale with your level. That means the higher your level, the stronger the item. Still, you can look for better bows with the right affixes. You also look for bows with the erosive prefix to scale the damage over time, and also of affliction and of ailment. Lastly, let's talk about strategy. I strongly recommend to enable a stationary attack or cast in the control options for left mouse button. This enables you to shoot without clicking on a target. I got my stationary attack on the shift key. This is easy to reach, just shift and left click to shoot arrows where you want. Put your frequently used spells on your mouse buttons and make use of all the mouse buttons, like the mouse wheel, the thumb buttons and the right click. I also recommend to have the control options set that way so that the left click means attack or interact. This one is the most intuitive for me. You can play extremely safe with this build. Cast Ignite on enemies far away to lure the group in. Cast Ignite on strong enemies and then shoot once. If you anticipate to have some incoming damage in the next seconds, activate the barrier. For example, if you have a shootout with some king crabs.
I come here for a fucking shootout, right? A proper shootout with some proper men.
Activate the barrier to take no damage while shooting them dead. Use the same strategy for bosses' ranged attacks and you'll be good. Use dodge to escape big enemy attacks, but that goes for all builds. Also use the dodge here to position yourself well so that you can shoot most of the enemy group. You can also put a few points in dodge distance or even 1 point in teleport to make the dodge a little better, if that is your preference. The build has a ton of active points that can be put there instead of earth enchantment. Then that's it. If you tried the build, tell me how it went for you. One last tip. Ailments stack, so when you have two might bow exploders, their burning ailments also stack. All monsters would be completely left without any chance to win. Whatever might be the case, Thanks for watching, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. And now let's see how the build looks in action.